Poultry here at Hillside Acres, and we are working on doing a video that we are going to be posting here in the next couple weeks of some eggs that we are incubating. Um, and so I started thinking about, just the basics of hatching, and so I thought I would do an informational video on what we know about hatching. Sorry. What we know about hatching and, what we have learned over the years. Here in Arkansas, we have a very a humid climate. We have, Arkansas is known for its humidity. And so we practice what's called dry hatching, which is basically from the time that we set our eggs at day 1 to basically day 18, which is right before lockdown. If you don't know what lockdown is 2 to 3 days before your hatch day. You're gonna lock down your incubator, which is basically you're gonna, if you have eggs in like an egg turner, you take your eggs out, you lay them flat on the bottom of your incubator, and you no longer turn them from lockdown until they hatch. Lockdown also means you're not going to open your incubator. You're not going to, say you have one chick hatch. Every time you open that incubator to get that one chick out, it puts your other chicks at higher risk for what's called shrink wrap. Shrink wrap is when I'm trying to think what it's called, the membrane, which is like, when you hard boil eggs and you crack them and there's like that thin layer in between the actual egg yolk and the egg white, and the actual shell, like that thin layer, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know what it's called. It will, when it's hatching, they'll peep, which is when they poke a little hole, they peck a hole in their shell and they start making the process of rotating all the way around and cracking their shell to be able to hatch. They'll crack that egg open, and then when you open that incubator and all that humidity and the temperature change, shrink wraps that membrane to them. So then instead of being able to move around and get that egg open, they get stuck in that shrink wrap. And most of the time, if you don't help that chick out of the shell, then the chick passes away, and it's kind of just a sad process. So for me, from lockdown until 24 to 48 hours after my chicks are all like hatched and everything, I do not open my incubator. And 48 hours, that's 2 days. Okay, so if the first chick hatches on Friday and the last chick hatches on, Saturday night, I won't open that incubator until probably Sunday evening or Monday even. And I know that seems like really long, and they're a brand new chick and they need to be brought out of the incubator and, fed, given feed and water. But if you know enough about hatching, you know that the yolk itself is not what the chick develops out of. A lot of people say, oh, well, I won't eat egg yolks because I don't want to eat the baby chick. Well, in fact, the egg yolk is not what the chick develops in. The chick develops in the egg white. The yolk is actually what they save and they eat to be able to get that energy to hatch out of their shell. And that egg yolk, the nutrition from it lasts like a few days after they eat it. And so that's why, a lot of chicks, if you buy chicks from hatcheries, they'll ship them out, within the first day or two from when, they pull them out of the incubator, they ship them to you. And then you're the first person, 2 or 3 days later, whenever you get these chicks, that feeds and waters them. And it's because they have that yolk and it sustains their body until, 2 or 3 days after they hatch. And so leaving them in the incubator for a little bit longer is okay. It doesn't hurt them at all. I've never, lost a chick just because I left it in the incubator a little bit longer. But by doing that, it's just giving your incubator more time to keep that humidity where it needs to be and keep that temperature where it needs to be. And it allows the chicks the ability to actually hatch out and not have to worry about being shrink wrapped or, having other issues from you opening that incubator up over and over again, pulling these chicks out. Leave them all together. Leave them in there. The chicks running around in the incubator actually helps stimulate the other chicks to want to hatch. And, the other chicks will sit there and peck each other's eggs and stuff like that and help each other. And so I have always done it that way. I mean, not at first. When I first, I've been hatching chicks now for probably about 5 years. And at first, I was that person. I'd open that incubator, I'd grab that chick. Oh, look at this cute little chicken. I'd go put it in the brooder. And then, I was just having horrible hatch rates. I was having eggs that I would crack open, and it would be a fully formed chick, but it never hatched. And I could never figure out why. And I would always get so upset. And then a dear friend of mine, who also is, big in, raising poultry and stuff like that, she was like, what are you doing? Like, what is your incubation process? And so I told her, and she said, no, you're incubating great. You're doing a good job. But your issue is constantly opening that incubator. Do not open your incubator from lockdown to at least 24 hours after the last chick hatches. Not your first chick, your last chick. When that last chick hatches, 24-hour countdown. Get those chicks out after 24 hours. Make sure they have food and water. Keep them warm. We'll do a video on, chick husbandry after we get our chicks hatched, and we'll kind of show you guys like what to do, how to keep them warm, what types of feed we recommend, stuff like that. But this video is about hatching. Okay, so your chicken eggs are going to incubate for 21 days. So you got day one, you set them, and then you're going to wait 3 weeks. So if you set them on a Friday, 3 weeks later, that next Friday is your hatch day. And then your quail eggs are 18 days. So, you set them 15 days later, 15 to 16 days later, you put them on lockdown, and then they hatch on day 18. Some people, if your temperature is a little bit higher in your incubator, you might have chicks that hatch sooner. So you might, if your ideal temperature for your incubator is 99.5 to 100.5. We have our incubator set at 99.5. That's just the temperature that we like. We do well. If you start, having an incubator that, is higher and higher and it gets hotter, it incubates the egg faster. So you might have chicks that start hatching on day 19, day 20. And sometimes that's not an issue, but then sometimes that fast incubation process, it doesn't give them the proper time to develop. And so then you're going to have leg issues, and you might have cross-peak issues and other things like that. So keeping your temperature in your incubator at a constant temperature is very, very important. It's very big. Like I said before, I kind of got into talking about dry hatching. So dry hatching here in Arkansas, we do not put any water in our incubator. Normally, with no water in our incubator, our humidity stays between probably like high 20s and 30, normally 35 or so. So say 25 and 35, it stays in between there. And for us, on certain breeds, that works really well. Like most of our silkies, our cochins, those are all bantam breeds. It, not necessarily, it doesn't matter if it's bantam or stand-up, just some eggs are different. They do really well at dry hatch. I've never had an issue with them dry hatching. The only eggs that I actually do kind of like baby the humidity is our Polish eggs. And that's just because Polish do better in they incubate better in a little bit more humidity. But even at that, we only keep our humidity between 35 and 45 during the incubation process. And then when it comes time to them actually hatching, I only get my humidity up to about 55. I know a lot of people recommend, 65 to 70, but for me, I've noticed, okay, so each one of those eggs that hatches, it's gonna, they're wet, they're, they have like, I'm trying to think of the word. I don't know how to explain it without making it sound weird. They have their own like juices, I guess. I don't know. When each one of those eggs hatches, your humidity is going to rise up automatically because that egg hatches, they're wet, that moisture is going to add to the moisture that's in your incubator, and it's going to go up. So if you have your humidity at 55, that chick hatches, and then all of a sudden, your humidity goes up to 65, 70, then you're good. That's a perfectly safe range to have your humidity. But you get to where, you have your humidity, you have it set at 65%, and then that one chick hatches and raises it up to over 75, 80%. Then you're having condensation on the outside of your incubator, and, you're having what's called, like, you drowned your eggs. Like, you'll have all these eggs that will hatch, or not hatch, but you'll have all these chicks that form, and then they die and they never hatch, and you wonder why. Why could they just die like that? It could be a number of different things, but one thing is if you get your humidity way too high, they can actually drown because eggs are very porous and they can breathe through their eggs. And so when they peep, which is they push through that air bubble at the very top of their egg, and they breathe and they start moving around. Well, then when the humidity is so high, they actually drown in their shell because it's not safe for them to go past 70 to 75%. So for us, that's something we've learned over the years. We start out at 50 to 55% humidity. Each one of those chicks is going to add moisture into the incubator, and it's going to help keep everything going. It'll keep everything humid and stuff. I do keep an eye on it. If it starts dropping lower than say 50%, and you got a little bit of a time gap between this chick hatching and this chick hatching, take a little bit of warm water, not much, like maybe half of a teaspoon, and add it in. Watch how high your humidity goes. If you need a little bit more, add another half of a teaspoon. You just have to keep it and kind of play with it. It's something, you'll learn. It's a learning curve. You'll figure it out. Each incubator is going to be different. Each area where you're incubating is going to be different. So just keep an eye on your humidity. Humidity is a big thing. Humidity will also cause like feet problems, like like the curved toes or the spangle leg, which is where their knees knock in, and then they have problems walking. So your biggest thing is going to be a constant temperature, and then keep up with your humidity. Don't go overboard. Like I said, think about the fact that each one of those chicks hatching is going to add moisture into the incubator, so that's going to bring your humidity up automatically. So just keep an eye on your humidity. Lockdown is very important. Do not continue to open up that incubator. It is going to cause shrink wrap. I know there's a lot of people, you'll even see some people, they'll make videos and post them on YouTube, and you'll see them pulling that chick out, and you think, oh, and then they'll complain about having a low hatch rate. I promise you, it depends. If you do everything right, do everything right, because you can never honestly do everything right. It is a guessing game. It's a learning curve. You're going to have good hatches. You're going to have bad hatches. That could be, from fertility to how old your eggs are. Oh, a big thing on eggs. The best time to incubate eggs are their freshest at 7 to 10 days old. So you want to set your eggs in your incubator. So start the incubation process between, before 7 to 10 days. 10 days is the latest, and that's just because you're going to want the freshest eggs to have the healthiest embryos and stuff like that. And then another thing is we take our egg cartons on our kitchen counter, and we set our eggs like this. You set them up kind of at a slant. So this white one's sitting on your counter, and this one has your eggs in it, and it's at a slant. See how this one has an X marked on it? Every day, twice a day. In the mornings, we rotate it. Okay? So, now the X is pointed down at the bottom. And then that night, before we go to bed, I'll rotate it again. And the reason we do this is because you want to keep your eggs at a tilt, and you want to rotate it, and so that way the embryo does not stick to the side of the shell. So keep your eggs at a tilt and rotate them twice a day. This is just, while you're, gathering up your eggs. It'll help with, keeping your embryos from attaching to the cell or the inside of the shell. And it also kind of just, because a hen, when she gets in and lays that egg, she'll have her clutch of eggs, and every day she'll turn all those eggs. She'll lay a new egg, she'll turn them, she'll get up, go on about her day, and then the next day she comes back, she turns her eggs, and, she'll keep doing that until she goes broody, and then at that point, then she sits on her eggs and hatches them. So yeah, keep your eggs, out of sunlight. You don't need your incubator right by. One, the the fluctuation of temperatures isn't great. So kind of put it somewhere, like here we have ours, up away from a window, up, away from our kids. Our kids can't reach it. This is one of those big 4-drawer filing cabinets. So, we don't have our kids pulling it down. We've had issues in the past before. We had ours in the living room. And, we used to flip we had a power strip, and we would flip the switch and turn, the TV, the DVD player, everything. We'd just turn it off at night. So it wasn't just pulling power that would, for no reason. Well, not thinking about it, I had my incubator plugged into that power strip. So it was like almost every single night, our kids just got in the routine of just turning that power strip off. Well, it turned off the incubator. And I'd be getting everybody ready for bed. We'd be reading stories, saying our prayers, everything like that. And I wouldn't even notice it until the next morning. And then I'd be like, oh no. So, I had an entire hatch like that. If it was like, it wasn't an entire hatch. It was like, 2 or 3 days of that before I said, okay, this is not going to work because they can't keep going like that. They're not going to incubate, which we ended up having, a few chicks hatch, but, they can't have the constant off and on again, stuff like that. So, keep your incubator up away from, if you have little kids, if you have cats. We've had times, we were incubating some quail eggs, and we had a cat that jumped up and pushed our entire incubator off during hatch. It was literally during hatch day. We had chicks hatching, and they heard the peeping and got interested. They pushed the incubator off of a dresser because we had it in one of our not our kids' rooms, but it's like a storage room, I guess you could say. And the cat jumped up, pushed the incubator off, and then was eating our baby quail that we had hatched out. So, where you put your incubator is important. Make sure it's secure. You don't have to worry about, it getting knocked off, somebody or something getting to it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. If there's anything that I've forgotten that you can think of, make sure to comment below and let me know. Turkey and duck eggs incubate for 28 days. Chicken eggs incubate for 21 days. Quail eggs incubate for 18 days. Like I said, keep that temperature between 99.5 and 105. We keep when we do add, when we're not dry hatching, when we're actually adding water and keeping the humidity constant, we go from 35 to 45. From set date to lockdown, and then at lockdown we'll bring it up to 55. Keep an eye on it. Do not let it go under 50. Okay, it goes under 50. Like I said, warm water. Add a half of a teaspoon. Start with a half a teaspoon. A little bit of warm water will go a long way. So half of a teaspoon. Add it. Keep an eye on it. Watch those chicks, because as those chicks rise, you're gonna see that humidity rise. Or as the chicks hatch, you're gonna see the humidity rising. So keep an eye on that. It's very important. We candle our eggs. You can go from, some people candle their eggs at 3 days. Some people candle theirs at 5 days. We candle at 1 week. So we'll start eggs on, say, Friday. That next Friday, we'll candle eggs. Any eggs that did not develop, we take out and we throw away. At week 2, we candle again. Any eggs that are not making progress and developing like we need to, we take out and we throw away. And then at lockdown, we will candle one more time and make sure everybody's looking good. Candling like they should. By lockdown, you're turning the egg and you're just barely seeing a little bit of light. That's it. That chick should fully be in that egg, and you should just hardly see it at all. And so then, like I said, lockdown is, for chicken eggs, it is day 19, let's say. It's 2 to 3 days before your hatch day. And like I said, lock that incubator down. Do not open it until 24 hours after your last chick hatches. I promise you, they will be just fine. They're going to throw fit. They're going to be chirping, raising all kinds of goodness, wanting out because they're hungry, but they will be okay. 24 hours after that last chick hatches, you take everybody out and put them in your brooder. And then, I was going to show you guys. Okay. Bantam egg. Okay. Standard egg. You see the difference? See how much? This is a standard size egg, which is a standard chicken, which is going to be your barred rocks, your Rhode Island Reds, your standard size chickens. And then you have your bantam chickens. Let's see if I can do. and that's going to be like we have Cochins, Silkies. There's a lot of different bantam breeds, but I just wanted I'll touch more too on like different breeds, the difference between standard and bantam. But here, let's see if I can. You see the you see the difference? See how much bigger a standard size egg is to a bantam egg? Yep. Okay. Which, like I said, we're gonna do. I'm gonna. Sorry, that's Rory. We're gonna do an entire series. So we're gonna have hatching information, caring for chicks after they hatch. The difference between frizzles and smooth feather chickens, the difference between a bantam and a standard. So if you would, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and we will try our best to teach you as much as we can about the basics of hatching and how to care for chicks, because I know a lot of a lot of people will include information, but it's not always, you know, beginner friendly. Like for me, I would like, I'm very much one of those people that the way I learn is somebody to dumb it down for me. I like, you know, if they've learned something and they recommend it, I'm gonna try it because you can always like it's better to try and fail than never try and never succeed. And so, yeah, we always try, and if it doesn't work, we'll try again. It's one of those things that, we're not perfect. We're, constantly learning, and we accept a new challenge and we accept new knowledge, learning. That's one of the best things about homesteading is you get to learn so much about so many things. But anyways, like I said, thank you so much. If you would, please like our... Hold up, let me... You want it? Okay, come here. Can you say bye? Bye! If you would, please like, subscribe, and follow along because, like I said, I'm going to be trying to teach you as much information as possible. Thank you. Bye. Bye.